ancient mysteries that were finally solved. For centuries, they were considered impossible mysteries. Lost cities, strange symbols, ancient structures nobody could explain. People created theories, legends, and sometimes even wild conspiracies to fill the gaps. But what if some of history's greatest mysteries weren't unsolvable at all? What if the answers were sitting right in front of us, waiting for the right discovery, the right technology, or the right person to connect the pieces? And here's the real question. How many mysteries today will seem obvious 100 years from now? Let's explore 10 ancient mysteries that baffled humanity for generations until they were finally solved. Imagine standing before a temple covered in writing, yet being completely unable to read a single word. For nearly 1,500 years, that was humanity's relationship with ancient Egypt. People could see the hieroglyphs, they could copy them, they could admire them, but what did they actually say? Were they symbols, magic signs, religious codes? Nobody knew. Then in 1799, a remarkable discovery changed everything. The Rosetta Stone contained the same message written in 3 scripts. One of them was Greek, a language scholars already understood. Could this be the key? Years of study followed until researchers finally unlocked the code. Suddenly, the silent monuments of Egypt began speaking again. Pharaohs revealed their names. Priests described their rituals. Entire chapters of history returned from the dead. But think about it. How different would our understanding of Egypt be today if the Rosetta Stone had never been found? Was Troy real or just a myth? For centuries, many historians believed the famous city from ancient stories existed only in legend. After all, where was the evidence? How could a city so important simply disappear? Then, a determined archaeologist named Heinrich Schliemann asked a different question. What if the stories were based on something real? Excavations in modern-day Turkey uncovered layer after layer of ancient settlements, and deep beneath them lay a city matching many descriptions of Troy. The discovery didn't prove every detail of the legendary war happened exactly as told, but it proved something equally fascinating. The city itself was real. So how many other myths might contain pieces of forgotten history? For generations, people wondered how ancient humans moved stones weighing up to 25 tons. Did giants build Stonehenge? Did supernatural forces help? How could people without modern machinery accomplish something so enormous? Recent investigations finally provided a much more realistic answer. Archaeologists discovered evidence of sledges, rollers, ropes, and carefully organized labor. They also traced some stones hundreds of miles from their original sources. The process would have required incredible planning and cooperation. No aliens, no giants, just determination, engineering, and thousands of hours of work. But perhaps that's even more impressive, because isn't human ingenuity often more remarkable than mythology? When hikers discovered a frozen body in the Alps in 1991, they thought it was a modern accident victim. But then experts realized something shocking. The man had died over 5,000 years ago. Who was he? How did he die? Why was he carrying weapons and tools? For years, scientists investigated every detail. DNA testing, medical scans, and forensic analysis slowly built a picture of his life. Eventually, researchers discovered that Ötzi had suffered an arrow wound shortly before his death. He wasn't simply lost. He may have been fleeing violence. What began as a frozen mystery became one of the most detailed biographies of an ancient human ever reconstructed. And it all came from a body preserved by ice. Why would ancient people create enormous drawings visible only from the sky? For decades, the Nazca lines inspired endless speculation. Were they messages for gods, astronomical maps, signs for visitors from another world? The mystery captured imaginations everywhere, but careful research revealed something more grounded. Many lines align with ceremonial pathways and ritual activities. Evidence suggests they played important roles in religious practices connected to water and fertility. In one of Earth's driest regions, water meant survival. Could these giant designs have been part of ceremonies intended to communicate with divine forces? The mystery wasn't completely magical, but it remained fascinating because it revealed what ancient people valued most: life itself. When ancient scrolls were discovered in caves near the Dead Sea, scholars immediately realized their importance. But who wrote them? Why were they hidden? And why were they preserved so carefully? For years, answers remained uncertain. Then archaeological evidence began pointing toward a Jewish sect known as the Essenes. Researchers found connections between the scrolls and nearby settlements. The writings revealed beliefs, traditions, and daily practices from over 2,000 years ago. What had once been a mystery became a direct window into an ancient world. But perhaps the most surprising discovery was how much knowledge survived despite centuries of conflict and change. When divers discovered a shipwreck off the coast of Greece. They expected treasure. What they found instead was a mystery, a corroded lump of metal filled with gears. At first, it seemed unimportant. Then scientists looked closer. The object turned out to be an ancient mechanical device capable of predicting eclipses and tracking celestial movements. For years, experts wondered how such advanced technology could exist more than 2,000 years ago. Modern imaging finally revealed its complexity. The mechanism wasn't evidence of lost super civilizations. It was evidence that ancient engineers were far more sophisticated than anyone realized. So what other ancient inventions have disappeared without a trace? How do you lose a king? For centuries, nobody knew where Richard III was buried. Historical records suggested one location, but time had erased many of the clues. Churches were destroyed, cities expanded, and eventually his final resting place became one of England's greatest historical mysteries. Then researchers made a surprising decision. They began searching beneath a modern parking lot. It sounded unlikely, but excavations uncovered a skeleton matching descriptions of the king. Could it really be him? DNA testing eventually confirmed the incredible truth. After more than 500 years, Richard III had finally been found. But if a king could remain hidden for centuries beneath an ordinary parking lot, what other historical secrets might still be waiting beneath our cities? How does one of the world's most advanced civilizations begin to disappear? The Maya built magnificent cities, developed sophisticated calendars, and achieved remarkable advances in mathematics and astronomy. So why were many of their great urban centers eventually abandoned? For years, historians proposed everything from invasions to mysterious catastrophes. But as scientists studied climate records and archaeological evidence, a clearer picture began to emerge. Severe droughts, combined with warfare, political instability, and growing pressure on resources, likely played major roles in the decline. The Maya didn't vanish overnight. Instead, they faced challenges that slowly weakened their civilization. And that raises an interesting question. If environmental and social pressures contributed to their decline, what lessons can modern societies learn from their story? Who really built Great Zimbabwe? For years, many outsiders refused to believe that local African civilizations could have constructed such an impressive stone city. As a result, theories involving distant kingdoms and foreign builders began to spread. But what did the evidence actually say? As archaeologists studied the site, they found overwhelming proof linking Great Zimbabwe to the ancestors of the local Shona people. Artifacts, trade goods, and historical traditions all pointed to the same conclusion. The city was built by a powerful African civilization that controlled major trade networks and accumulated significant wealth. In the end, the mystery wasn't about who built Great Zimbabwe, it was about why so many people ignored the evidence for so long. Sometimes solving a mystery means challenging assumptions rather than uncovering new discoveries. History is filled with mysteries. Some remain unsolved, some may never be solved. But these stories remind us of something fascinating. The greatest breakthroughs often happen when someone asks a simple question. What if we've been looking at this the wrong way? Because every solved mystery was once considered impossible, and somewhere, right now, another ancient secret is waiting to be uncovered. The only question is, who will solve it next?